We're back.
This is it.
Close of Play podcast.
With your new intro, I'm Ollie.
And I'm Craig.
We hope you enjoy this episode. Make sure you
Like and subscribe.
tell your mother and
Let's go.
bye-bye. 1, 2, 3.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Close of Play, the podcast.
How's it going?
Soon to be legendary Close of Play podcast.
No pressure.
No pressure at all,
No
guys,
pressure.
right?
We're joined this morning by John from Foxwood Recruitment. Morning, mate.
How you doing, guys?
Thanks for giving up your time.
Thank you for inviting me. What a place this is. Fair play.
Cheers, mate. We're just
thank you
waiting
so
on
much.
Craig to have a slurp of his. I was just waiting to hear it in the headphones.
Just looks wrong, doesn't it?
Do you know, I had the abuse off camera and then I thought, you know what, it's done now. But no,
we'll start
Ollie
it like
seized the moment.
Very on brand with the sofa, though, with the colours.
I'll take the piss of my coffee.
That's it.
Girly coffee.
There we
Yeah,
are.
There we go.
JD, thanks for joining us, mate. Obviously, we all know each other off pod,
Yeah, slightly stranger, this.
but good to sit down and interesting to learn your story, your journey, and obviously talk about your business. What have we been up to? Where have you been this week? Anywhere exciting?
Costco, by the look. isn't
Costco,
it?
cool.
Do you know, that is highlight of the week for me was going to Costco. What a surreal place. It is literally just aimlessly people walking around with bulk buying shit that they probably don't
Did you
need.
come back with 2 kilograms of sushi?
No, but I
no.
did come back with 12 muffins and trays of drinks, and it's just absurd. Absolutely absurd.
I literally have a Costco membership just for the water, which is weird, and it's at the point now, and especially with the kids, I'm sure we're all the same, but you know, like when the sink's full of like all the bottles in the house.
Yeah.
Like if we don't have bottled water in the house, like everyone gets a bit crazy and starts getting dehydrated. Do you know what I mean? If you have all these bottles of water, everyone drinks loads of water.
Because there's no taps, right?
Yeah, we're only in Wales, best water in the world.
I didn't have the full experience though, because I didn't use the cafe thing there.
Oh,
I've never been there.
I've had a bad experience at Costco. I feel like this is weird, isn't it? It's nothing to do with business. So like at Costco,
It is a little bit
I have
business.
I have a conspiracy.
Right.
Here we go. Not a conspiracy. Every time I've had food from Costco, at the end, I've always been ill afterwards.
Wow.
And I feel
That's a
like
claim.
I feel like it's really synthetic is the easiest way to describe it.
Okay.
As in like, I don't know,
processed.
either like really overly greasy or like I'm always a bit ill afterwards.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go there next week again,
Yeah.
and I'm going to sample the food, and I'm going to do a review at the time and the day after, just for you.
Thanks for that.
What I wanted to know about Costco, though, actually, what was the marquee purchase at the end of the aisle? Because normally they'll have like a sailing boat or...
You know, sorry, I was going to actually mention this. You know, like you talk about something and then you get those targeted ads on your phone and they say that they're not listening, but actually it's so
Yeah.
bloody specific.
Freaky.
It's freaky, yeah. Well, all week I've been talking about a cool box for the summer.
Yeah.
Yeti all the way, mate.
Yeah.
You
and
walk in there.
when I got in there, they had Yeti coolers and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. The coolers, they're like, so some things they do really well. And obviously they have things like cheap cases of water to get you through the door. But
Yeah.
like the stuff that they bring, which is great in America, like all the American cooler boxes that actually keep ice frozen for 4 days, they're amazing. I love it.
I've got a Yeti.
Yeah.
We use it in Tenby all the time. Literally fill it full of beers, ice.
Yeah.
Bit lazy when you get back from the day. Leave it out there, and 3 days later, it's still ice.
Still the- yeah.
It's
Wow.
unbelievable. Yeah, really good. Really
So,
good bit of kit. If you're listening.
If you're listening, Costco, you know what I mean? Feel free to get in
No
touch.
discount
and,
code, sorry.
No discount code. So, yeah.
Oh, and then just to wrap that up,
Oh, here we go.
when
We
I
haven't
when I
finished.
got my membership,
Yeah.
she said, you need to produce documentation to prove that you own the business. And I was like, well, I've got a business bank account. And I was like, okay, great. This is easy. Hand over my business card, as in my bank account card. And she said, well, it doesn't list the business. I was like, well, I don't print the cards. So I offered to show her the banking app, wouldn't take that as proof of recognition. And she said, can you check Company's House? So I bring up the business on Company's House. And she goes, yeah, that's fine. Could have been anyone's fucking business.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, what was the point in that?
What do you reckon the reasoning is? Like why? Obviously, because you can just sign up at like
To
Joe
keep the
Bloggs,
riffraff
no?
out.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe just their market.
It is
But
just the market, isn't it?
That is pure process, that, isn't it? She's been told she can have that.
Yeah.
I feel like people get confused though. Like going back to look at this, the Costco podcast. People get confused and forget you're in Costco. You don't need to be buying 20 bottles of fairy liquid. You can get one next month. Do you know
6
what I mean?
kilograms of beans.
But it is so easy to buy into. Like
Yeah.
there was Screen Wash, and I buy Screen Wash. I don't know why, but the Teslas drink it.
Yeah, they're big.
and they offer a 20-litre thing of screen wash.
So you bought it
for like a $5? No, I didn't buy it, but
We can all top up our screen wash now.
I was very
also.
tempted to.
AdBlue would be one actually. You wouldn't have it on the Tesla.
I've got that on the van. You probably got that on your tank, haven't you?
What is the point of AdBlue?
I only discovered this recently, so I will talk as though I know all about it. It sprays something onto the emissions that reduces the emissions.
So you don't actually need it.
No, you do to get the tax rate, the taxability of your car. So obviously having AdBlue helps reduce the emissions. Helps.
Does it work without the car?
If you don't have an AdBlue input, you don't need it.
Right.
So you can only put it in a car that takes AdBlue.
Yeah, I get
But
that.
also,
I get that.
if it didn't happen to me, but happened to one of my staff a few years ago, I won't mention her name, and it wasn't Vicky. Somebody forgot to put AdBlue in their car. Thought I'll get away with it, and it was kind of counts you down the miles.
Yeah, it gives you a big warning. Like
it gives
on
you
one of the
1,500
work
miles.
vans, yeah, it was like you've only got 1,498 miles left of AdBlue.
So literally ran it down to 0, and the car won't start.
No way.
So it's a fundamental
literally a
piece,
fundamental
but it's so
thing.
expensive now.
it feels like another money
it's
maker.
another 40 quid to top up.
Don't miss
On
it.
your car, yeah.
Have you seen the? Look at this. We're just talking about all these,
good, this.
all these life. Yeah, we'll be
hidden
done in
costs of
10
life.
minutes.
Yeah.
Everyone will be like, best episode ever. Have you seen the new DVLA tax cars now? So they drive on the motorway.
Yeah,
So it's like a white Skoda car. It has like roof racks on
cameras.
it. And it's got 2 cameras pointing out. And essentially they're just driving around, pinging all these regs to see whether you're taxed.
They do that in Newport so they don't have traffic wardens anymore.
parking
The
cameras.
parking cameras just drive around in
But the actual DVLA on the motorway, just driving around. 2 of them sat in the car. I don't understand that. You don't need 2 people.
Supervisor.
You've got to have one supervisor. It's like roadworks.
I want to speak to a manager and do like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I
You
always
have
wonder.
one guy digging, one guy looking, and one guy looking at the guy looking.
Yeah, I always wonder why when you drive past people.
Unless one's looking for a person on their phone, that would be a good one.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe he's just going, ha, ha. You know what I mean? Unlucky.
Or work experience. One of the two.
Work experience.
So, JD, you got your business is recruitment.
It is, yes.
Do you want to tell us how let's go back to your business journey then. So
My
obviously,
story.
What's your
The
story?
origin.
Failed rugby player.
Cool.
Always had dreams of playing rugby for a living. Quite early on, that didn't materialise. So I thought, right, you need to get a career. I'm lucky enough. My mum was in travel, so I kind of stepped into the travel arena. But I was okay at it, but I didn't want to be the son of.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an only child.
Was it that kind of ethos of like you see your mum doing well, but that's great, but you almost feel you want to do your own thing. You don't want to just almost have the easy route.
100%. Right. So it was. She's my kind of business role model, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Hey, mum, if you're listening.
Hey, mum.
Obviously I've wanted, kind of looked at what she's done. Haven't quite emulated all of it yet.
Yeah.
But being in travel's quite incestuous and quite a small industry. And there's always, you're Liz's son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, her name's Sue, but her work name was Liz. Weird one, because there were 2 Sues when she started. Yeah. And I didn't want that. So I kind of I first started at Fitness First, selling memberships. And weirdly, that really grounded me in terms of sales. Just sales process, needs analysis and understanding. It was really, really contrived in their process. But what the questions they asked and the formula really worked. And that stays with me today. Moved into kind of selling IT training. And that was a real ground in business to business sales.
Yeah.
And then moved into office services, water coolers, stuff like that. And then fast forward to, I was approached to go and work for UK Mail as part of their regional manager for them, looking after kind of all the new business revenue.
Who bought them out? Was that a
DHL?
Yeah.
So that was really good. It was a real push for me going from office services, I was at PHS at the time before then, and that was a real relaxed company, probably flatlining if I'm honest. And then, UK Mail was it was a PLC, all about share price, all about, numbers.
All of the perks.
Not really, if I'm honest. There were perks with it, don't get me wrong, but it was really work hard environment, operationally led. That was really cool. Took me out of my comfort zone. And I think we all need to do that, right? From time to time. Probably took me into that stress level a little bit when I started, but I learned a lot from that. After 3 years, I was promoted to basically the director to head up a new business director. So I headed up all the new business across the country. So we had
Was that like all accounts or people who are using competitors and bringing them over? Or?
Yeah, so we would go after new business. So say Wiggle were one of our big clients. Hey Matt, if you're listening, Wiggle Bikes, huge in Portsmouth. We brought that on. Williams Medical up in Tredegar, big, large, kind of three Arctics a day in terms of putting that out. Right. So I looked after the whole of UK. It was always my goal to be a director, and I think it's like, oh yes, I've got the. But when you got the title.
Was it what you thought when you got it?
No, and this is why Foxwood came about. So I love my time at UK Mail. I remember my first board meeting, and it was a bit like a playground in terms of people just trying to get one up on each other. Sure. So operations were against sales, customer service was against, or sales were against customer service, and there was no unity.
You felt as though every department worked for themselves, kind of thing.
100%, and the culture was very fast and reactive, which I loved. But I just thought, do you know what? It was like that Santa's not real moment.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Oh, sorry, guys.
Yeah. We work in the world of Christmas. We won't clip that.
Yeah. From that. After about 6 to 8 months, I'm thinking, right, okay, what are we going to do? And luckily I had a bit of money behind us. Myself and Rhiannon were going to start the extension, which we've just finished, as you know all.
Yeah.
We're going to start that 7-8 years ago. And I sat down and said, right, I need a business. We're out, luckily, in Whistler in Canada, where my best mate lives. Nice. And he's got a couple of restaurants, and there was an opportunity to maybe move and kind of, we had Freddie at the time go move to Whistler and do a little bit there. I was all over that. Mm-hmm. My wife wasn't. So my wife's a solicitor. She's got a career here, family, everything else. And so we said, right, okay, on the plane home, what do you want to do? Yeah. One of the things that I found in recruitment at the time were people were sending me people who were great salespeople, but actually didn't understand culture. So they didn't fit our culture of a business.
Okay, no person fit.
Yeah, as I said, we were really reactive. We were like a speedboat. So we'd literally, our CEO would say, right, we're going to get volume. Then suddenly we'd have to turn off that volume and look at raising prices. And that was the way we worked, which I loved. It suited my DNA. Other people, it didn't. Yeah. Recruiters would say, right, there's a guy here from the Parson and Cheese, brilliant, but actually he doesn't fit our dynamic because he couldn't move that quickly. He was more, or she was more.
Okay, doesn't adapt well.
Yeah, didn't adapt well, more stable, like process. And I made a couple of really bad hires. And I'm looking back and I thought, right, there's an option here to look at recruitment from a different way. So it's the old poacher gamekeeper thing, isn't it?
What was recruitment like? So what year was this? How long ago was this?
This is our 8th year now. So
so recruitment like 8 years ago obviously was everyone was doing everything completely differently. So
totally
you
different.
Wanted to.
I think the P word, the pandemic's has changed that. I would go out to an agency, they would send me a load of CVs. They wouldn't really necessarily understand, they might have had a phone call with them. They didn't really interview them, et cetera, et cetera. So I approached the subject of getting a recruitment company. I didn't have a clue about recruitment. I still, up until probably December, said I wasn't a recruiter, but I purely am now. Yeah. Vicky, who obviously a very, very good friend of mine, she was in recruitment. So I approached Vicky to come on board, and we set up Foxwood, which was awesome. Yeah, 8 years this November.
Nice.
So that was the.
That's a big milestone, really, isn't it?
It is a big milestone,
especially everything that's the last 8 years hasn't been a normal 8 years in business.
We had the first year we flew, then we did the kind of we did the scale up. So we wanted people. We got some things wrong, which is ironic for a recruitment company.
What did you get wrong, if you don't mind sharing with us? Because obviously, I'm guessing some of them are applicable just to business rather than recruitment.
I think Marco touched on it on the last pod that I listened to. Yeah. You have to spend the money, and I think sometimes as a business owner, you're trying to look at your bottom line. And really look at costs and how that can impact that. And maybe we should have, rather than develop people, maybe brought some key people in at the right time. The problem with developing people, and I love developing people, but when you're in the do and you're doing that role, it's very hard to spend that time.
Yeah.
And that, so that was maybe that was probably the biggest thing that we did wrong. However, we were making good money. We were growing year on year, and then the P word happened.
What did that look like then?
Wow. I literally came back. I was skiing in Chamonix, and I came back. I crashed. I don't
What's
remember.
going on here then?
Yeah. I crashed my car. Right.
Bloody hell.
So my car was left in Chamonix during the pandemic. They shut all the ski lifts. We had to get a flight back. And the first time I thought about it, because it was a bit of a joke, wasn't it, at the start? It's like, well, there's this thing.
It was a bit of fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about fun, but it was like, ooh.
There was it was more of like a laugh around it, wasn't it?
It's not going to affect me. A bit blasé. And then we got to Geneva Airport and everyone was in masks.
Okay. And then
I'm like, gee whiz, look at this. I was like, Reed, look at this. This is weird.
Yeah.
Got home and literally then the first time it really impacted us is our nursery turned around and said, you've been to the Alps.
Yeah.
Toby, who was a baby then, he's 4 now. So he must have been kind of just over a year old.
They wouldn't take him.
Wouldn't take him. And I'm like, you what? And then Rhiannon's work said, sorry, you're not allowed to come in.
Oh, wow.
You're going to have to work because you've been, and then it was like, wow, this is starting to hit.
Yeah.
The big thing for me as a business owner is when we went into lockdown. And I always remember that the actual press announcement. And then Rishi Sunak actually coming on and talking through, he was, to be fair, I think he did a really good job then, just reassuring the business that we will help you.
Oh, the financial support.
Yeah, the financial support. Luckily, we were good as a business, so we could ride it out.
Yeah. But then when you say that, you probably thought from the initial announcement, we can ride it out for a couple of weeks, month.
Yeah.
It was, all of a sudden.
It was tough. So we obviously the government really helped throughout the pandemic.
Yeah.
And, we did well in terms of the years before, so that helped. However, I sat there and thought, right, this is the end of my business. What am I going to do?
Were you still doing, so your business model then, obviously I love what you do, and obviously you're going to go a bit more into that as like looking into people as far as recruitment's concerned, but did the processes change then, or were you still doing what you did when you started? Because when you started the company, you wanted to be different, you saw the gap in the market. Yeah. So were a lot of your processes actually already in place before COVID?
Yeah, 100%. Weirdly, we recruit, and we were doing a bit of recruitment in Dubai, right? So obviously I can't go. Our philosophy was we meet every candidate, we go through their DNA to match them, match their DNA with the client culture, because that's what we're about.
Yeah. And is that what people weren't doing when you set up?
Yes, then? So that's what, there are recruiters who do it, but there was a gap for certainly that I saw. A bit like a headhunting role, but for generalist recruitment. So before the pandemic, we were recruiting all over the UK. We had a big client in Manchester. We had a client in Glasgow. Clearly, I'm not going to drive up to Manchester to do a load of appointment, a load of interviews. So we actually enlisted a bit of software called Richard, who's a friend of Glenn's, called Hinterview. So Hinterview are a video. It's a bit like a Teams, but it's a whole back office structure. Okay. So I can, if you give me a role, I can actually just give you access to the back office end, and then anyone that I interview and I feel that is good enough, you can drop it in and you can see where we are within that process, watch the video.
And when you say interview, then is that someone will send you a CV, or you go into them and it's an initial 10-minute chat, is it?
Yeah. So
and then the client's going, let's develop this, develop this.
This is that coffee chat. Okay. So it's not a 45-minute hour interview. Gee whiz, no one wants to listen to me, although you probably listen to me now for 45 minutes.
Do you feel like that is a crucial part that people skip, almost just that getting to know you like straight away? I suppose
it's just hard. A person fits, isn't it?
100%. It's about DNA, right? Yeah. So what we do is 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. Some drag on, some are a little bit shorter. Yeah. But all my questioning is conversational. And it's around their culture, around their kind of work processes. And I try and drag out of them as much as possible. Sure. So you get the real person. That is never an interview. Okay. We would never say to a client.
Do they know that as well then?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So from a client point of view, this is that coffee chat. This is an extension, a third dimension to their CV. Yeah. And it's the same for an applicant as well, a candidate. CVs are really boring. Sorry for those CV makers out there, but you know, as
It's almost
creative as you
yeah.
can be, you can't go into as much depth as you can on a.
And some people are really shit at selling themselves on CV.
100%. Some really people shit at selling themselves on video as well. But
Quick takeaway for listeners then: if you want to create a good CV to impress a recruiter or a potential employer, give us the 3 top tips you need to be hitting in a CV.
you need to get all the facts in early.
Okay.
So I don't want to be digging through a CV to find out your results. If you're sales, you should have key achievements straight there.
Yeah.
Because that draws my eye. This is kind of a contentious one, but I like a photo on a CV.
Okay.
Because it's not a beauty pageant. Right?
I feel like it's something that's come back. Like it was like I remember when I was doing recruitment, if there was a photo on there, I was told to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But now it's come back and it's the done thing because people want to see person fits, right?
Well, what it does when you're reading it, you can kind of think, well, yeah, I see this.
Okay.
And
Rather than
subconsciously,
saying like, I go skiing every week, and it's
this is a kind of blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
So some people like it, some people don't. It's not a beauty pageant, a professional photo. When I say, in work attire, your LinkedIn profile is a great one. So you check your LinkedIn
Last
profile.
tip then. Does length matter? Obviously,
Wow.
in regards to a CV. Because I remember, I can't remember who it was, but just in my kind of career journey, someone said like, after the first page, if you're not excited, you're never going to read the second page.
100%. That's why you get your key points first.
Okay.
You don't want to bore somebody. So you want to keep them captivated. One of the best CVs I've done and I helped do was somebody who's coming out of a senior position in kind of local government authority. And she's got a great CV. And we kind of did it a little bit like a PR piece in a magazine.
Nice,
so
nice.
it was, it was
You can be quite creative.
yeah,
with it,
really creative.
Like changing the layouts, colour.
100%. So you want to stand yourself out from the crowd, but also not be too cheesy with it as well. So that's the CV. The video is really cool. But as I said, I'd never say to my client, you make a decision on that because it's not. It's just there's an extra.
It's just a sifting.
Who excites you to kind of interview almost?
I like what I need to explore that a little bit more.
I'm curious then. So through the pandemic, I actually thought recruitment was booming because you had this opportunity that came overnight where everyone was then working from home.
Yeah.
So the ability to fill a role wasn't just someone in Newport. It was then somebody across the country, somebody 100%. Maybe overseas. And all these new things came to be of VAs and all these new opportunities came about. What did that look like in actual contrast to the reality of what was going on?
Yes. So there were two folds. A lot of people just, right, we're going to hold on, obviously, because they didn't know what was going to go on. So a lot of recruitment just went dead.
Was like a period of almost nothing.
Yeah, like a desert.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why I started. Remember Furlough Burger? We kind of, I did with my son, we were making gourmet burgers just to keep myself occupied.
Okay.
Which was really cool. Yes, there were loads of that kind of roles, but that wasn't at the start. At the start, everyone panicked.
Okay. So overnight, the immediate thing was
coming out of the first lockdown. Then people started to adapt a little bit, and those roles started to come in. Unfortunately, the market was really candidate led. So if you've just got furlough and you're unsure, a lot of people wouldn't make a move, and quite rightly, because you wouldn't get the support that you would have if it went
if you joined a new company.
Went tits up again, which obviously it did.
Yeah.
So yes, it did open up a few things, and we've seen that grow now. We've got a big IT client who, based in South Wales, would only look at people who went into the office. Suddenly, they did a big recruitment drive, and we could recruit anywhere in the UK, and gee, that was a lot easier than just trying to get people in South Wales.
And then on the flip side of that, the biggest question for me that I really was excited to ask is client expectations post-COVID.
To be honest,
let me rephrase candidate expectations.
No, that's what I was going to say. There's a mismatch.
Yeah.
So
does everyone still want loads of money for nothing?
Everyone not necessarily loads of money. What we'll find is the additional perks. So the additional benefits. Yeah. I only want to work from home. I'll go into the office once every 2 weeks. That's not what the role states.
Because you saw companies almost doing like tennis with the perks. Some were offering, they were doing like extra money. They were doing working from home. They were doing flexible working, training, like loads of different perks just came about overnight.
Yeah.
That everyone was throwing onto the table. But now they seem to be drawing it back in again. So
there are, and the really good recruiters, the really good companies, the really good clients that I work with is one in Cardiff who were forward thinking before the pandemic. So they offered hybrid working. I feel personally hybrid working is the way forward.
Yeah.
If you're fully remote for certain roles, doesn't work.
No.
And the longevity of that kind of career path, you know, my wife's a solicitor. She works from home all the time. If she was a trainee solicitor, she wouldn't get the benefit from that.
Yeah.
So
for your wife, I suppose it's just a space. Do you know what I mean? You get the folder, and just experience allows you to work through it.
And how productive is she? You know, normally she'd be in the office at 7, coming home at 6.
Yeah, an hour each day probably lost. Just
she smashes it in, gets it done. She gets to see the kids and everything else, and it's a really good work-life balance. Where clients kind of, and not my clients, I don't really work with these kind, because the market doesn't allow it really. But where they say you have to be in the office all the time, there's no appetite for that, or there's a very small appetite for that now. The hybrid thing is the thing.
It's the way forward.
Personally, I work hybrid. I'll work from the office maybe 2-3 days a week.
Do you feel like you not more productive, but some days you just feel like I'll just have a day in the office and I'll get all this done.
Need to get in sometimes just to
just being at home's great, but especially with kids,
100%.
Distractions.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just as you know, I just built the house and there's things to do, and you're thinking, I should do that. And
whereas when you go to the office, you make a list and then you do it.
What I like doing is actually a hybrid of a day. So I'll go in the office. I drop Freddie off at 7:30 for his bus, get in the office till maybe 1 o'clock and come and finish off at home. Yeah.
And you know that you've done X, Y, and Z, and you can call this person while you're at home
And tech allows it now. So,
sure.
I've got voice over IP. So I've got my office phone rings at home.
Yeah, same here.
It does Rhiannon's head in. So I need to remind myself to turn it off.
But it means that answer phone messages aren't piling up.
Exactly.
You can be reactive, which is what you want to do.
I was away, it's a common theme here, but I was away over New Year and a couple of days just into the new working week. And I was working on my mobile phone with voice over IP all the time.
Yeah.
So
nomad lifestyle.
The same level of service allows you to have great family life, flexible.
Great family life, but also, if I'm honest, it can take over as well, can't it? As we know as business people. If you're on call all the time.
Yeah. The hardest thing is not being able to switch off, or even when you're trying to have a day with the kids and someone calls, it's like, I've got to take it. Do you know what I mean? But then I think your family support it, and that's why you do what you do. It's not all the time, and that almost pays for the holiday.
Or it's kind of managing expectations as well, isn't it? Do you have to take that call now, or can you just wait 20 minutes, go and find 5 minutes of peace and go and take that call then?
Yeah.
If it's urgent, obviously you need to do it. But so weirdly, we were going back to we were set up for the pandemic very, very well.
Yeah.
And that really worked. As soon
do you think that's why you powered through it almost? Because
as soon as we came out, we did have a real spike. What we found though is we talked about the kind of mismatch between candidate expectations and client kind of delivery. That created a bit of a lull then coming out of COVID, and it was tough. They were, again, the hangover of it. Well, they looked after me. I'm going to stay where I am. That for certainly for the first kind of 8 to 10 months coming out of COVID was rough. But we've seen a massive introduction now into, it's kind of kick-started again within the industry. Yeah.
What do you specialize, or do you only look after certain sectors?
Do you niche, or is there?
No.
Okay. And because obviously some people, I guess, do. Just again, what I see on LinkedIn.
My natural one would be to go to sales or operations, because that's my background.
But do you try and build the same relationships with your clients as candidates? So like, once you have that relationship with the business, if they need a sales guy or a tech guy, it's like you understand them.
Where we work really well with our clients is we dovetail with their internal processes. So a lot of them have internal recruiters, and then they'll come to us. Where we add benefit is DNA. So the process is the same. A job description and a CV are easy to match. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's all about the person for us. So we can find those, we can search and use our resources to get a load of candidates, but it's then getting the right candidate for that company is where we see fit. So we recruit in IT, we recruit in office services, HR, sales, right across the board.
And that's all across the world if you need to.
If we need to, it tends to be the UK now. We've only done a couple. There's one South Africa, one Dubai, but it tends to be the UK, because again, I understand the UK business culture as well. The culture in
Dubai
or South Africa is totally different.
Yeah.
So yeah, we go across the board. Okay. The only thing probably, you know, and I'm honest with my clients as well, if they give me a job and it's really technical, so you might want to go to a specific development.
Yeah. Do you touch on do you have like a network of almost like, I don't know, like cyber, do you know, like your network of other recruiters? Can you touch on them?
Yeah. So I work quite closely with another recruiter who's very similar to ourselves, but also I've got referrals to
the specialist.
Also, weirdly, I don't know what your phone's like in terms of the office phone, but I get inquiries every single day, maybe 10 of people looking for work. And that's great. It's a great sign for the economy.
Yeah.
I don't do warehousing. I don't do kind of construction work. But from the outset, it's all about like helping people and matching people. So I'll recommend them to the right recruiters because, you know, they've got off their arse and they've picked up
especially if you know you can see that they're a good candidate, I suppose.
Well, even the fact they've got up and picked up the phone and they're looking for work, you know, they're getting enough knockbacks. So we'll go and refer them.
If a role doesn't exist, will you just put them through the initial 10-minute interview and put them on the book, so to speak?
No. I will go through an interview. So we do spec candidates as well, but it's about managing expectations. So
there's no point in having someone really good when it's like, I'll let you know when a job comes up.
No, I'll let them know. You're a really, really good candidate. I haven't got anything at the moment, but I think this would be worthwhile doing. So when, you know, we do get a job, I can fire it straight away. That happened. We got a candidate at the moment who's looking for a role. She had basically a role on offer. That role got pulled for circumstances out of our control and the business's control. Another role came up which was very similar. I sent that video straight away, and we're in today for a second interview.
Do you find you have to play the middleman a lot in the job that you do?
Yeah, it's like,
because obviously people's expectations we just spoke about. Do you find you have to calm people down in some instances?
Yeah, we have to manage people through the process.
Didn't you say today like you're actually going to an interview as well?
Yeah, so I'm actually interviewing with the client today, my candidate, which is really interesting. Yeah. But a lot of the time at offer level is where we come in. So it's about, you know,
what you do well, and then it's like,
so I could do all this work. Yeah. This is the bad thing about recruitment without kind of fees up front, is that I could do all of this work. We have the offer, we manage the expectations. Tony talks about this in terms of the estate agent kind of fraternity. And then the candidate might turn around and say, well, actually, I want 38. Right. Well, you know full well this role was paying 35. Or conversely, you know, it could be a 50 grand role and it's a 50 grand candidate and the client goes, oh, actually, I'm only willing to pay 42. And then they're the real kind of Kofi Annan moments where you have to kind of peacemake and try and get that one over the line.
I suppose it just comes down to experience, doesn't it?
Level head experience, just taking a breath. And then going through, it goes back to my fitness first days. And it's, you know, if you look at the needs analysis of everybody, so, you know, why are you looking for a role? What do you feel are important? And they told me this thing is really cool within sales. And for anyone who's worked for me, you'll know this and they'll laugh now, is the shopping trolley. So if you have, Craig, 3 things that are really important to you, when I get that offer, I'll relay those back. Because actually they're really important to you. And if you say yes 3 times, it's very hard then to say no.
Yeah, I got you.
And it's just working through exactly what you want and what you need and putting it into perspective.
Okay.
Should we get some tips in terms of if I'm a new candidate looking for a new role? Yeah. Like 3 do's.
3 don'ts as well. Let's do the do's.
Crikey. If you're a candidate.
Yeah, because coming out of pandemic now and things do seem to be reeling back in from what I've seen, like expectations. I see a lot of companies now bringing people back into the office, not entirely. As you said, everything's going hybrid now. Yeah. I think maybe that's just through performance related reasons, but the 3 do's for somebody looking for a new role in 2023.
Be flexible. So don't with your demands. Okay. I think that's
number 1, be flexible.
Longevity counts. So don't go job hopping.
Okay.
The generation.
Is that a real turn off on the CV when you see day to day?
Someone's had 9 jobs in 9 months.
Weirdly, I'll have someone who's 9 jobs in 9 months. If it's in a certain sector, I'll probably know they're consultants or they're doing kind of short term work.
Contractors.
2, if that is the case, put it on your CV reasons for leaving. So if it's a 6-month contract,
3-month temp kind of thing.
Yeah, put it on there because then it kind of negates any negative thoughts of that.
Yeah.
And the final one is be prepared, present yourself. Okay, the market is buoyant. There are lots of candidates out there. How do you set
First
yourself?
impressions
First
count.
impressions count.
Okay.
Don'ts.
Don'ts.
Turn up late. That's one of my biggest bugbears. Again, don't be flaky. So don't. That was kind of a role reversal.
Yeah.
And
What about like wasting time in the nicest possible way? Like, don't almost apply for stuff and then where it's like you don't have a clue what you're doing if you get the job. Do you get that much or not? I don't know.
Yes.
I don't want to sound like a dick either, but do you know what I mean?
Our roles are slightly different. We'll go and approach people as opposed to people applying. Really, so we're more pulling people in. But you're right. Manage your expectations. I think
lying, I suppose.
Yeah,
almost like if you're getting excited because they're saying this, and this. Actually, it's
you get found out.
Oh, yeah.
You will.
But that's almost what you're doing before the client.
100%. So if we're talking about sales process, it's brilliant. It's my back. It's my.
We said it on the last episode how social media is like fake it to make it, so to speak. But actually, in a high performance role, that will only last so long before you sink.
In any role, if you're saying you're customer focused, and you don't give a shit about customers, that will come. Your natural personality will come through.
And I always say like, there's a probationary period for a reason.
Yeah, you can be as the best in the world, but in 3 months, if you're not doing what you said you would, then
100%.
Is that an annoying period for you as recruitment then? Because like obviously,
if I've done my job right, it shouldn't happen.
Okay.
It's annoying when it's out of my control.
But do you not? If they leave in the probation period, do you not get paid?
We have to give money back. Yeah. Which can be, and that I look at that as a failure myself, if I'm honest, because we got the wrong person. Sometimes it's out of our control, but we work with our clients and our candidates as well. So sometimes the client may have sold us, there's one certain one at the moment where I don't deal with them anymore, but they sold us the dream and actually it wasn't the reality. So we're hell-bent on getting that candidate back into employment, getting it sorted.
Okay.
But we work with I'll offer flexible terms. I see my clients as clients for life. Yeah. So I'm not there to make
about building relationships.
It's not transactional at all. Okay.
So so I got to, and then we both got a question for you. So I just think it'd be cool to know what's the coolest job you've placed?
Wow. The coolest job.
When I say coolest, I suppose maybe not even like monetary value, just kind of like through your whole career.
The coolest one that I've actually placed was it wasn't down to monetary value, but it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's probably not the coolest in terms of brand or anything else.
Yeah.
But it was a director of business travel for a big global business travel company.
Okay.
We had 2 offers to candidates who then turned them down. So this was a big fee, but it was kind of 18 months in the making. And when I got that one over the line, it was brilliant.
So by that point, even though like the money's big and obviously the fee's big, like working on something for that long, like you feel like when that comes in, like all that money's been earned kind of thing. It's not.
And it was not necessarily about the money, it was about the process and we got through it. I get the same buzz of doing a small fee as a big fee.
Yeah. Which is just shows how you run your company, I suppose. Credit to you, do you know what I mean?
Yes, the money's important, but it's getting that.
You're treating them the same, whether 100%. It's 20 grand or 200 grand salary kind of thing.
Yeah, they're not my fees.
No. Salary, not fees.
Yeah.
So Foxwood Recruitment moving forward. Have you got 12, 5, 10-year plan? Like when have you had enough? Are you going to sell it?
I think you guys know this because we've had this conversation. It's a bit of a change. That was a loaded question. When I first started this business, I wanted to scale and I wanted to scale it to possibly sell it. COVID had an impact on that. And obviously things have changed. Vicky left the business. Vix and myself are really, really close. Vix wanted to do something else with my backing. Not, I miss her.
Yeah.
But
it's so nice when you can still like sit here and be like, do you know what I mean? She wanted to do something else.
Yeah, 100%. And you talked about it last week, I think, with Marco or Marco's podcast when he said that he couldn't have done it without his business partner.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think you were burnt a little bit. You said, I don't know, I'd rather do it on my own. I couldn't have run, we couldn't have set this business up without each other.
Yeah. You had to get to where you are together.
Yeah. And things have changed slightly. Yeah. So with that now, in terms of scalability, I'm not really interested. I'm interested in doing a good job.
Yeah.
Earning a wage, getting that balance, as you always talk about.
We haven't mentioned it.
Yeah, I know. You should get it up on the wall.
It's actually a big talking point on the Duos podcast, which lands this week.
Yeah, is it balance again?
Because it doesn't exist, does it?
The funny thing is that there's a massive insight into like mine and Craig's balance. And like when you talk with a guest, you touch on it, and it's like finding that true balance. If you feel like you have it, send me a message.
I feel like we all know what it is, but we don't do it.
Yeah.
Is that down to our expectations though? Because I think sometimes when we get to where we need to be, things change. Like our expectations change. And
do you feel like you have the better balance now?
Yes, 100%.
So you're where you are. You can manage it.
We've the model that we have, I think, is it suits me. It suits my lifestyle.
And do you feel like having this other company that you mentioned? Like you feel like if you need that resource, you've got it.
Yeah,
but you don't have the stress of it.
Yeah, we don't have the stress. We can yin and yang.
Yeah.
We've got the resource model that we have now is phenomenal, and that's really, really worked. Again, outsourcing things. We talked about it earlier, where you can turn things on and turn things off and be more flexible. And I think COVID's shown us that you don't have to have a big office.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a big wage bill.
No. To still do great things.
It's certainly in a service environment.
Yeah.
Yes, for production or for other things maybe, but for us we don't have to.
No. So 5 years then, where are you going to be apart from skiing?
5 years. I'd love just to be where we're at. I think
like a small incline, but also no kind of major...
No major structural change. Obviously, there's scope for more business, which we are looking for.
Could you do this for 10, 20 years?
I could do this until I retire.
Okay. Yeah. And almost even, do you feel like where you are now, even when it comes to thinking, I'm going to look at retiring, you could probably still place one person a week?
Exactly.
Which is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
When can we retire? That's the thing. My mum and her husband retired quite early, and they love it. They've done the kind of round the world things, but now everything's done. They're like, what do we do now?
Yeah,
about 80. I think we can retire when we're about 80.
Yeah, I know. The way it's going is going to be like that.
Yeah,
it's not like
mad,
the French. We should get out on the streets.
Yeah.
But
it sounds like you're really happy and comfortable, and obviously it's taken a lot of work to get there.
And I think it's really important to get those kind of soul search those goals and what you want and what you're achieving. You know, I've got a set revenue that I need to achieve my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then a little bit more to
enjoy it even more.
Or to put in the back burner.
Absolutely.
For who knows, you know. And the P word, the pandemic really showed us that
if it happened,
balls to the wall.
If it happened tomorrow, if it happened tomorrow, are you prepared?
Yeah.
There we are.
I just think that's the burning point when we talk about work-life balance. With what's happened previously, you can't preempt what's going to happen in the future. So if an opportunity comes to you at 10 o'clock at night, are you going to let that fold, or are you actually going to pick up the phone and say, do you know what? I'll have that business.
Exactly. Yeah. So we can be so reactive.
That's the beauty about running your own business.
It is, but also,
amazing highs, amazing lows.
Also, if a client comes in tomorrow and says, right, I need 50 people to start in a month, I've got the resource to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you spend a day drawing up a plan, and then all of a sudden it's like, this is what we're doing.
Sit down, have a coffee. Drink a lot of coffee at the moment. Sit down, have a coffee, work out that plan, work out that resource that you need, turn it on, bang.
Yeah.
And it's done. As opposed to it's a bit like that UK Mail thing where you can work like a speedboat as opposed to a big tanker.
Yeah.
Where it's really hard to move to change direction.
Craig, what's your question for JD?
Oh, we do it every week, and I had to look at the board.
You must know the questions, no? You know what's coming.
Well, the question is...
Well, you haven't preempted me with them, but there we go.
Both questions relate to it going back to day one of business.
Yeah.
But actually, with this one, with everything that you've learned over your entire career, I would say, if someone was looking to start their own business now, what would be the one piece of advice you'd pass on?
Don't rush into anything. Sit down, make that time. Look at what you want the outcome to look like, and then work backwards. I think rather than...
I have another question just to attach to that.
Go on then.
Because I know so many people, and statistically in Newport, so many people start businesses and it doesn't work out, and they fold the business and then they go back to working for someone. If you saw that on a CV, would you mark them down for that?
No, 100% not. No. I think the fact that they've gone out and set something up is fine, you know, and I think
that's actually quite encouraging, I would say.
Yeah, 100% life skills.
It shows their character a bit.
Yeah, it shows that they've actually lit and gone and grazed their knees. That's one of the biggest phrases that I use is that, you know, you can have somebody who's come straight out of uni and gone through a graduate path.
Yeah.
hasn't had any reality.
Yeah.
You know, the reality of owning your own business, you're going to graze your
It's a
bloody
huge
knees at some point,
shock
right?
factor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely clip that.
And that's why we're all looking older than we should be. Really.
That's what I got.
What do you mean?
So mine, I give you £1,000 cash. You've got all the current day knowledge, but it's day one of your first ever business venture. What'd you do with it?
Probably going to speak to Marco after last week. I think that's what we're going to have. Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Brand and how you want to access your market. So maybe look at, you know, if you need a decent presence, a website, and technology, I think is huge.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, we all try and run before we can walk.
Sure.
And having that, you know, if I did it again, it's kind of looking at where we want to be and working backwards as opposed to just ploughing on from the start.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best advice I would give.
Amazing.
And stay focused on your own shit and stop looking what other people are doing.
Yeah, that's the thing of social media, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's on holiday, and I've tried to. He's got a new car, he's got a new watch, he's got a new house.
Yeah,
and you're like trying to keep up with the Joneses, and just ride your own journey. I think that's the biggest.
I
thing.
used to be like, I literally have a private Instagram account now. With like
I have, and
78 people in there. You know,
mentally,
it's for me.
Yeah, I think we all got carried away with it.
yeah.
Everyone wanted like 2,000 friends on Facebook, and that whole.
You know, he's worked out. Or
Do you know, one of the best creators that I've looked up to in locally anyway, I found out recently he's about to take a job working for a company because he's got no work coming in.
Yeah.
But on social media, he's the busiest person ever.
Yeah, he's probably sat there with his Balenciaga trainers. Do you know what I mean?
knockoffs.
DHgate have probably done well out of all these fake celebs.
Yeah, you're right, and it's that celeb culture.
Yeah.
And that certainly Instagram has fueled that. Not so much Facebook, because I'm probably from the Facebook generation, a bit older than you guys.
MySpace?
No, not quite. Or MySpace. What was it? Friends Reunited and all that. So that's how I met my wife, really. But that's another story.
Was that a dating website?
No, it was
find your old friends.
Find your old friends. So literally, I think, just own your own shit.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anyone else.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks very much for your time, mate.
We wrap up, I have a gift.
Got a gift?
A plug, once again, because we haven't done a plug
Yeah,
recently.
mate. From our sponsor, Tiny Rebel.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Awkward to hand them over the mic. There we are, mate.
Beautiful.
Enjoy them.
Just hazy IPA.
Just haze.
Gaz and Brad would be really happy that I'm.
You're best mates with them anyway. You don't need that.
I know. Weirdly, I've known the family for a long time, so it was quite interesting when Hannah was on the other day and plugging it. But what a great brand!
Yeah,
and
local
they've done
as well.
really well. Yeah, really well. So,
yeah. Thanks for your time,
thank you
mate.
very much.
Honestly, really enjoyed that.
I'll sync those
on the way home
tonight.
On the way to the
before
interview.
the interview.
Yeah, you walk up about what's happening.
Exactly. Thanks very much, guys. Been a
Thanks for your
pleasure.
time.
Thank you, really appreciate
Cheers,
it.
mate.
Take care, everyone.
That's Close to Play.
Bye for now.
See you later.
Bye-bye.